Josh in Richmond, Kentucky. Hey, Josh, what's on your mind?
I'm doing good. I'm a libertarian here in Kentucky, and my question for you is, because this seems kind of like a Democrat kind of mouthpiece kind of TV show, but where's the spending cuts come? We talk about more and more programs and free college and big government and health care, and what would you suggest the cuts come from with such a lingering debt?
Why do we need cuts?
Why do we need cuts?
Right.
We're what, 20 trillion in debt as a nation? Or?
No, actually, we're holding 20 trillion. Well, it's not 20. It's actually about 16, because 3 or 4 trillion of it is money that the federal government owes itself. You know, Social Security Trust Fund, for example, is $2.6 trillion dollars. But that's actually, if a bank held $20 trillion in deposits, that bank is arguably $20 trillion in debt. But if you would think, Jamie Dimon gets a multi-$100 million bonus for getting that, if he could get $20 trillion worth of deposits. In fact, that's why Pete Peterson has been, a Wall Street billionaire, has been running around for years saying, oh my God, the national debt, the national debt. The reality is that the national debt is private money. When George W. Bush was born, his family put $1 million in treasuries to put into his trust fund, right? Treasuries. This is private savings, and it's the safest savings in the world. And if you did away with treasuries, like Andrew Jackson did in the late 1820s, early 1830s, he threw us into the longest and deepest depression in the history of the United States. Now, Wall Street looks at that $20 trillion and they say, that money really should be in our banks so that we can make a profit off it. And that's why they're hysterical about the national debt. But the national debt it's inconsequential. Japan's GDP to debt ratio is twice what ours is right now. It's over 200% of GDP. We're in the neighborhood of a little less than 100% of GDP. When we ended World War II, in 1947, 1948, by 52, when Eisenhower came into office, we were at 127% of GDP in terms of our national debt. The debt from World War II was greater than any other debt we've ever had, or at least any other debt that we've had in the last 150 years. Probably the Civil War debt was even greater. I don't know. And how did we pay off that debt? We didn't cut a damn thing, Josh. Not one thing. Instead, what Eisenhower did is he said, I'm going to grow us out of this. I'm going to borrow another $1 trillion. Only back then it wasn't $1 trillion, but today it would be in inflation-adjusted dollars. I'm going to borrow another $1 trillion, and I'm going to build a national highway system that is going to create a transportation infrastructure so that our entire nation can get in the game and start manufacturing goods and have a vibrant commercial economy. And that interstate highway system, which threw us even deeper into debt, has produced so much wealth that it paid the debt down to the point where it was only about 20, 25, 30% of GDP when Reagan came into office. Then Reagan, of course, tripled the national debt. It was only $900 billion when Reagan came into office, less than $1 trillion. Reagan took it all the way almost to $3 trillion. But it's still, and so if you're a debt hawk, if you're freaked out, you really need to be talking about Republicans, not Democrats, number one. But number two, the dirty little secret that Republicans in Congress know, but they're not going to tell you. And Democrats have known forever, and pretty much any economist can tell you, is that the national debt doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. We don't need spending cuts. What we need is stimulus. We need spending. We actually need a spending increase, which will grow the economy. And we've seen the proof of this. We did this in the 1930s with the WPA, the CCC, the TVA. All of these things were funded by debt, and they put us back on the road. And then we saw the same thing with Eisenhower.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.